Hello, my name is Lauren Etheridge, and today I will be discussing ethics in educational leadership through the case study Promotion versus Retention. The presentation will follow this general agenda. We will look at an overview of the case study situation and dilemma. We will then analyze the ethics involved in this situation. Then I will give my personal recommendations for potential solutions and future actions for educational leaders. And we'll wrap up with the resources used for this presentation. So let's get started. Our case study takes place at the end of the school year. The 8th grade teachers at Innovations Academy are trying to decide whether or not Ada Juarez, also known as Ada, should graduate and move on to the high school. There are several factors weighing on their decision. Ada has failing grades in social studies and science. She has had 17 absences during the second semester and is currently reading on a 5th grade level. Some of the teachers believe that she has not put forth her best effort to pass these classes, and they are worried that she is not prepared for high school. At first glance, you may be thinking these are all good reasons for Ada to repeat 8th grade, but there's more to consider in this situation. Even though Ada is reading on a 5th grade level, she began the year on a 3rd grade reading level. She has worked with Mrs. Castro, her English teacher, every day after school and has made 2 years' worth of growth in a single school year. She has had excessive absences this semester, but Ms. Angley argues that this should not necessarily be held against her. Ada has been in multiple foster homes this year after witnessing her brother being shot to death on their front porch. Surely these circumstances, which are out of her control, cannot be held against her. In addition to this, Ada's science class was also taught by a long-term substitute teacher for most of the semester. This could have played a contributing factor in Ada's failing science grade. And lastly, Ada will turn 16 in October. She was retained once in elementary school and will be much older than most of the students at the high school if she repeats 8th grade. Again, you may already have a strong opinion about whether or not Ada should be retained or promoted, but let's take a look at how her teachers are viewing this dilemma. There are 5 teachers on the 8th grade team at Innovations Academy. In this case study, they have to make a decision about Ada's promotion or retention by the end of their meeting today. Everyone has different opinions about what is best for Ada and about their ethical obligations as teachers. As Ms. Langley creates a T-chart of possible actions and outcomes discussed by the team. The first option is to retain Ada. She has not met the grade requirements. This would be the, quote, easiest choice to make. The teachers would just be following school policy. However, all of the teachers agree that there is a high likelihood that Ada will drop out of school if she repeats 8th grade. The second option is to give Ada passing grades in science and social studies and promote her to the high school. Several of the teachers feel that this would be unethical and that Ada will learn that her actions have no consequences and she will fail at the high school as well. Another concern is that other students will learn that standards do not matter and will expect similar affordances in the future. On the other hand, Ada could be grateful for the second chance and really apply herself in high school. At most schools and most school years at Innovations Academy, sending Ada to summer school for credit recovery before moving on to the high school would be an option. However, this year, funding for summer school has been cut. Some of the teachers point out that the school announced in April that summer school would not be offered, and many students buckled down and earned high enough grades during the 4th quarter to ensure that they passed. Ada, however, did not. The last option discussed is sending Ada to the alternative school for a semester before moving her to the high school. This suggestion causes an uproar among the veteran teachers. They know that the alternative school is more about teaching correct behaviors than academics. Ada would likely learn nothing and possibly be in danger due to the severe behaviors at that school. This is rejected as a possibility for Ada. This leaves the teachers with two options: retain Ada or give her passing grades. Let's consider how the ethics of justice, care, critique, and profession weigh on this decision. At first glance, the ethic of justice seems to be against promoting Ada. She did not earn the grades needed to move on to the high school, so she should have the same consequences as every other student. The case study revealed that there are 3 other 8th grade students who are being retained this year. Why should Ada pass and not the others? It would certainly be equal treatment to retain her. On the other hand, would it be equitable? The case study does not give details about the other students' home lives, but are Ada's personal circumstances enough to require special treatment? Let's consider the ethic of care. After reviewing Ada's personal circumstances, the ethic of care asks us to step back and consider Ada as an individual. This year has already put a lot of stress on her mental and emotional health. How will retaining her for another year affect her? Will it provide support because she is with teachers who already understand her situation? Or will it cause her to view herself and her situation more negatively? This could result in harmful behaviors in addition to possibly dropping out of school. At least some of her teachers recognize these concerns and are relying on the ethic of care to guide their decision making, while others in the group feel the ethic of justice weighing on their conscience. Now let's add in the ethic of critique. This is an area that the teachers do not seem to be leaning into. Ada has made significant academic growth this school year in spite of everything going against her. The standards for promotion and passing grades have been the same for many, many years. Maybe it's time to consider looking at alternative measures of academic achievement. Also, the level of support offered by the school should be critiqued. Summer school and credit recovery have been offered to students with extenuating circumstances for a long time, but now they're not available. If Ms. Castro had not taken it upon herself to work with Ada, would there have been any support available for her this school year? Has counseling been offered through the school guidance department? Has Ada's social worker been contacted since she's in the foster system? This may not be something that the teachers want to take a hard look at here at the end of the school, but has the school really done everything possible to support Ada's success? All of these ethical paradigms need to be considered when teachers are dealing with a dilemma in education. Teachers in schools are held to high standards of accountability when it comes to student achievement. The stress of these expectations can be seen in the words of Ada's teacher, Mr. Rodriguez. He is quoted as saying, "We're the Innovation Academy 8th grade team. We're the ones who agreed we wouldn't play the game of pretending to teach while our students pretended to learn. We decided together that we would stand by our graduates and that we could guarantee when they walked across that stage, they were ready to succeed in high school, then college, and beyond. Are we ready to give that commitment up, to sacrifice our integrity and the values we stand for so soon?" End quote. I understand this sentiment. However, teachers are not solely accountable for student achievement. In Chapter 9 of our Ethical Leadership textbook, the authors explain that responsibility, while resembling accountability, may be perceived as more inclusive and place the answerability for the success or failure of young people's learning on all of society: the public, legislators, parents, teachers, and administrators, as well as the schools. Ada's parents have failed her. She's bouncing around foster homes. The public has failed her. She had to watch her brother being shot to death on her front porch. The school is failing her by not offering summer school or providing needed guidance. Her teachers have tried their best to help her. Should Ada have to suffer the consequences when so many others have failed her? Can the responsibility for her learning be placed solely on Ada and her teachers? When taking all of this into account and combining the ethical paradigms of justice, care, critique, and profession, I believe that there's a clear best choice for Ada and several recommendations for the educational leadership at this school and others like it. My first recommendation is to choose the most student-centered option. In my opinion, that would be to promote Ada to high school. If possible, I would love to see her participate in a tutoring or mentoring program over the summer. This could justify her promotion and give her a sense of ownership instead of just giving her the grades. I believe this is also the most equitable option in this scenario. In the future, I would suggest that the team review past report cards and consult previous teachers to gain a better picture of a student's academic history and behavioral trends. This could help support throughout the school year, as well as assist with end-of-the-year determinations. I would also recommend that the teacher team seek guidance from the administration. They have spent a lot of time debating whether or not to promote Ada, but the administration may not even uphold their decision based on her academic records and absences. Finally, I would advocate for a policy to be added to the school handbook that creates an extenuating circumstances clause under the grading policy. When a situation like Ada's arises, a student's teacher or teachers may present a case for promotion to the school administrative team. This would place the final decision in the hands of the administration. The teachers could present all of the information just like they did in this case study, but this would take the stress of the decision off of their shoulders. This case study does not include the teacher's final choice, but I hope they chose what was best for Ada. I chose this case study for my presentation because this is a current and ongoing issue in education. There are approximately 400,000 children in foster care in the United States every year. This is a staggering number. Schools and teachers need to be aware of the hardships these students face in their daily lives and be familiar with resources available to help support their needs. It is important that teachers be trained to recognize signs of mental and emotional distress and understand the correct procedures for helping students in difficult home life situations. There also needs to be policies for determining extenuating circumstances so that teachers are not placed in situations where the academic future of a student rests solely on their decisions. The field of education is constantly evolving and adjusting to best meet the needs of students. If educational leadership is not growing and learning, we are doing an injustice to our students. To learn more about programs and resources for children in foster care, please check out the U.S. Department of Education's webpage. This case study was presented by the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and my references concerning ethical paradigms and quotes came from the textbook Ethical Leadership and Decision Making in Education. Thank you for taking the time to dive into this case study with me today. I hope that it has helped you think about the many layers of ethical considerations that educational leaders have to regularly navigate. Have a great day.